Michael Chen was dying in the Montana snow, his life pumping out through a severed artery that conventional first aid couldn't stop. The cell phone had no signal, the hunting camp was 12 miles from the nearest road, and Tom Bradley faced every wilderness guide's nightmare, watching a client die from an accident that happened under his watch. Unless he revealed skills he'd spent 5 years trying to forget. Welcome to Secret Human Stories. Before I tell you this incredible story of hidden military medical expertise and life-saving surgery performed in the wilderness, tell me in the comments if you or anyone in your family or circle of friends has military service background, and if so, what branch or role they served in. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the most skilled battlefield surgeons are teaching rifle safety in the mountains, waiting for the moment when their trauma training can save a life that no hospital can reach. 6:43 a.m., October 15th. The Bitterroot Wilderness, Montana. 12 miles from the nearest Forest Service road, 40 miles from the closest hospital. Tom Bradley was leading corporate executive Michael Chen on a 5-day elk hunting expedition when everything went wrong in the span of 3 seconds. Michael was climbing over a windfall, a massive pine tree that had fallen across their trail, when his rifle sling caught on a branch. As he tried to free the weapon, his gloved finger slipped inside the trigger guard. The .30-06 Winchester discharged at point-blank range into his left thigh. The bullet tore through Michael's leg with devastating precision, severing his femoral artery and creating a wound that would kill him in minutes without immediate surgical intervention. Blood was pumping out of the entry wound in rhythmic spurts that told Tom everything he needed to know: major arterial trauma, massive blood loss, and maybe 4 minutes before irreversible shock. Tom! Oh God, Tom, help me! Michael was screaming, his executive composure shattered by the sight of his own blood turning the white snow into an expanding crimson pool. Tom's mind was racing through impossible calculations. They were 12 miles from their truck, the satellite phone was back at base camp, and even if he could somehow contact emergency services, helicopter evacuation would take hours. Michael would be dead long before help arrived. But Tom Bradley wasn't really a wilderness hunting guide. Not entirely. Michael, listen to my voice and do exactly what I tell you, Tom commanded, his tone shifting from friendly guide to someone accustomed to giving orders during life-or-death situations. Lie flat on your back, keep your leg elevated, and press this bandana directly over the wound. Tom was already moving with practiced efficiency that had nothing to do with wilderness first aid and everything to do with battlefield trauma medicine. From his hunting pack, he retrieved items that seemed ordinary but could serve extraordinary medical purposes in the hands of someone with the right training. Paracord became surgical suture. A hunting knife became a scalpel. Emergency space blankets became sterile surgical draping. Duct tape became hemostatic pressure devices. And most importantly, a small vial that Tom carried, for emergencies, contained military-grade morphine that wasn't supposed to exist in civilian hunting guides' medical kits. Tom, I can't feel my leg, Michael gasped, his face going pale as shock began setting in. I think I'm going to die out here. Michael, you're not going to die. But I need to tell you something. I'm not just a hunting guide. I'm Hospital Corpsman First Class Tom Bradley, United States Navy, retired. I spent 8 years as a SEAL team medic performing trauma surgery under combat conditions. I'm going to perform field surgery to repair your artery, and then we're going to get you out of here. Michael stared at Tom through pain-glazed eyes. You're a Navy SEAL. I was. Right now, I'm your medic. And you're going to live because I know how to fix what's broken. Tom began the most challenging medical procedure of his civilian life, performing vascular surgery in a wilderness environment with improvised equipment while his patient was conscious and terrified. His SEAL medical training had prepared him for exactly this scenario, saving lives with minimal resources in hostile environments where conventional medical support was impossible. The bullet had created a clean entry wound but had nicked the femoral artery, causing life-threatening bleeding that required immediate surgical repair. Tom's hands moved with the muscle memory of someone who'd performed similar procedures on wounded SEALs in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other classified locations where American Special Operations Forces had needed immediate trauma care. Michael, I'm going to give you something for the pain, then I'm going to repair the damaged artery. You need to stay awake and talk to me so I know you're stable. Tom administered morphine using techniques learned during SEAL medical training, then began the delicate process of accessing the wound, identifying the damaged vessel, and performing arterial repair using supplies that would have seemed impossible for wilderness surgery. His hunting knife, sterilized over a camp stove flame, became a surgical instrument. Paracord, boiled in camp coffee, became suture material. His headlamp provided surgical lighting. A combination of pressure, precision suturing, and hemostatic techniques stopped the bleeding and restored circulation to Michael's leg. "Tom, how did you learn to do this?" Michael asked, his voice steadier now that the immediate crisis was passing. 8 years with SEAL Team 3, specialized in combat medicine. I've performed battlefield surgery under enemy fire, treated traumatic amputations in desert aid stations, and kept team members alive in situations where conventional medical evacuation was impossible. The surgery took 47 minutes. When Tom finished, Michael's bleeding had stopped, his vital signs were stable, and the arterial repair would hold long enough for evacuation to a proper medical facility. But their crisis wasn't over. They were still 12 miles from transportation. Michael couldn't walk, and Tom would have to carry his patient through wilderness terrain while maintaining his medical stability. Tom constructed an improvised stretcher using his rifle, hiking poles, and space blankets, then began the grueling process of evacuating his patient through mountain terrain while monitoring his condition and adjusting medical treatment as needed. The evacuation took 8 hours. Tom carried Michael 12 miles through wilderness terrain, stopping every 30 minutes to check vital signs, adjust bandages, and provide additional pain medication. His SEAL physical conditioning, combined with his medical knowledge, enabled him to perform what amounted to a mobile intensive care unit operation in the Montana backcountry. At 6:20 p.m., Tom's satellite phone finally found signal, and he contacted emergency services. "This is Tom Bradley requesting immediate medical evacuation. I have a male patient, age 45, with repaired femoral artery trauma. Patient is stable but requires hospital surgical confirmation of field repairs." The Flight for Life helicopter found them at the Forest Service Road 90 minutes later. When the flight medic examined Michael, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Sir, who performed this arterial repair?" "The guy who carried me 12 miles, Michael replied, pointing at Tom. Flight medic Sarah Rodriguez examined the surgical site and immediately recognized work that exceeded wilderness first aid capabilities. "Are you medical?" "Navy corpsman, SEAL teams, retired," Tom answered simply. "Sir, this is exceptional field surgery. You saved this man's life with work that most emergency rooms couldn't have performed better." At St. Patrick Hospital in Missoula, surgeon Dr. James Mitchell examined Michael's wound and Tom's field surgery with amazement. "Mr. Bradley, your arterial repair is textbook perfect. We're not going to change anything you did, it's exactly what we would have done in an operating room." Dr. Mitchell pulled Tom aside privately. "Where did you learn vascular surgery?" "Naval Special Warfare Medical Training. 8 years patching up SEALs who got shot in places where medevac wasn't an option." "Tom, have you considered returning to medicine? We need trauma surgeons with your skills and experience." Tom's response reflected the complexity of transitioning from military medical service to civilian healthcare. "Doc, I left medicine because I needed peace. But I guess some skills don't really retire when people need them." 3 days later, Tom received a call from his former teammate, Senior Chief Petty Officer Mike Rodriguez, who had heard about the Montana rescue through Navy medical networks. "Tom, word is you performed battlefield surgery on a civilian in the wilderness. Once a SEAL medic, always a SEAL medic. Mike, the guy was dying. I couldn't just watch him bleed out when I knew how to save him. That's exactly what I'd expect from you. You honored the corpsman oath. First, do no harm, but when harm's already done, fix what's broken and get them home alive." Now for the background that made this wilderness miracle possible. Hospital corpsman First Class Tom Bradley had served 8 years with Naval Special Warfare, attached to SEAL Team 3, specializing in special operations medicine from 2010 to 2018. His military medical training was among the most demanding in the armed forces, requiring him to function as both combat medic and surgical technician in environments where conventional medical support was impossible. SEAL team medics undergo extensive training in trauma surgery, emergency medicine, anesthesia, and field surgical procedures. Tom's medical education included advanced training in vascular surgery, trauma management, battlefield anesthesia, and emergency surgical techniques designed for resource-limited environments where patient evacuation might be delayed for hours or days. During his Navy service, Tom had performed medical duties in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, and other classified locations where SEAL teams conducted direct action missions. His medical record included 127 combat medical interventions, 89 successful trauma surgeries performed under fire, and a reputation among special operations forces as someone who could save lives that conventional military medics couldn't reach. The psychological demands of SEAL medical service were extraordinary. Every wounded teammate represented not just a medical challenge, but a brother whose survival depended entirely on Tom's skill, judgment, and ability to perform complex surgery while under enemy fire. The responsibility was overwhelming, the technical challenges constant, and the emotional cost of losing teammates despite perfect medical technique had accumulated over 8 years of deployment. But Tom's most haunting memory wasn't from combat. It was from a training accident in Virginia where a young SEAL candidate had suffered similar arterial trauma during a live-fire exercise. Despite Tom's immediate intervention and perfect medical technique, the candidate had died during helicopter evacuation due to complications Tom couldn't have prevented. That loss had contributed to his decision to leave military service and pursue civilian work where medical emergencies would be rare. The irony wasn't lost on Tom that he'd spent 5 years avoiding high-stress medical situations, only to find himself performing the same type of arterial repair that had haunted his military service. But this time, in the Montana wilderness with improvised equipment, he'd succeeded where military medical facilities had failed. Tom's transition out of military service in 2018 had been difficult. PTSD from combat medical operations, survivor's guilt from SEALs he couldn't save despite heroic medical efforts, and the challenge of finding civilian work that utilized his medical skills without triggering combat-related stress responses had led him to seek employment in environments that provided healing rather than constant medical crisis. Wilderness hunting guide work had seemed perfect, using his outdoor skills and leadership abilities to help people experience nature, teaching safety and marksmanship, and providing adventure experiences that created positive memories rather than traumatic ones. For 5 years, Tom had convinced himself that his military medical skills were artifacts of military service that had no place in his new civilian identity. But some training never truly retires, especially when it involves saving lives in extreme conditions where conventional medical support isn't available. Michael Chen's hunting accident had created exactly the kind of medical emergency that Tom's SEAL training had prepared him to handle: trauma surgery in a resource-limited environment where patient survival depended entirely on the medic's skill and improvisation. Tom's story teaches us that military medical training creates lifelong healers who carry their skills wherever they go. The combat medic who once saved SEALs in Afghanistan found a way to continue that mission in the Montana wilderness, using his expertise to save a civilian instead of a fellow warrior. 6 months after the accident, Tom received a letter from Michael Chen that would change his perspective on his post-military career. "Tom," Michael wrote, "I want you to know that I've established a wilderness medical training foundation to teach combat medical techniques to hunting guides and backcountry professionals. You prove that lives can be saved in places where hospitals can't reach if the right person has the right training." Michael's foundation, the Bradley Wilderness Medical Institute, now trains outdoor professionals in combat medical techniques, with Tom serving as chief instructor. The program teaches hunting guides, wilderness outfitters, and backcountry professionals advanced medical skills that can save lives when accidents occur far from conventional medical support. 2 years after establishing the Wilderness Medical Training Program, Tom received an unexpected visitor at his Montana ranch. Captain Sarah Martinez, the Navy surgeon who had initially recruited him for SEAL medical training, had come to personally thank him for continuing to honor the corpsman oath in civilian life. "Tom," Captain Martinez said as they sat on his porch overlooking the Bitterroot Valley, "what you've built here, training civilian guides in combat medical techniques, is extending the reach of military medicine into places we never imagined. You're creating guardian angels in the wilderness." "Captain, I just wanted to make sure other guides wouldn't have to watch someone die because they didn't know how to save them." "That's exactly the spirit that made you an exceptional SEAL medic. You found a way to multiply your life-saving capabilities by teaching others." The Michael Chen rescue was just the beginning. Now every guide you train becomes someone who can perform miracles when accidents happen miles from hospitals. The conversation reinforced Tom's understanding that his military service hadn't ended with discharge, it had evolved into a civilian mission that extended military medical capabilities to protect American outdoor enthusiasts in environments where conventional emergency services couldn't reach them. Today, Tom Bradley continues working as a wilderness hunting guide in Montana, but now he also serves as a wilderness medical instructor who teaches other guides how to handle traumatic emergencies in remote environments. His clients know about his Navy SEAL background and appreciate having someone whose medical expertise provides safety that conventional wilderness first aid cannot match. Tom's story demonstrates that military medical service doesn't end with discharge, it evolves into civilian medical readiness that can save lives in environments where conventional emergency services cannot reach. The SEAL medic who once performed battlefield surgery under enemy fire found a way to continue saving lives in the wilderness, using his skills to protect civilians instead of fellow warriors. Sometimes medical service means performing surgery in military aid stations while mortars explode outside. Sometimes it means teaching hunting safety to corporate executives who need adventure. Sometimes it means using military trauma skills to save a client whose accident could have killed him 40 miles from the nearest hospital. Tom Bradley learned to provide all three forms of medical service, honoring both his identity as a warrior medic and his calling as someone who protects people in environments where their safety depends on his expertise and judgment. The hunting guide who used to be a SEAL medic became the wilderness medical instructor who still saves lives when accidents happen in places where conventional medicine cannot reach. His hands never forgot how to heal, whether they were treating wounded SEALs or repairing hunting accidents. American outdoors enthusiasts can pursue their adventures with confidence knowing that warriors like Tom Bradley have traded their military medical kits for hunting gear but never surrendered their commitment to keeping people alive when accidents threaten their survival in the wilderness they love to explore.